excited to be able to have Michelle here. When I created this women's conference, I knew that she was one of the key people I wanted to have be a part of it, and she's been such a blessing and joy to my life since we met. I don't remember, how did we meet?
It was an event in Thousand Oaks.
Oh, yes.
It was like a lot of singing, and I found
Oh, yeah, one of my competition charity events.
Yeah.
And then since then, it's like we've been connected as great friends, and I always tell her that she has a fire in her eyes that won't quit. And so I knew that I wanted to have her be a part of it. So Michelle Morgan is the founder of Vida S Oro, a company that focuses on empowering people to embrace their self-worth and creating genuine love and happiness in their lives. With a sports background and a passion for working with young people, she lives in her purpose of inspiring and empowering young people to attain their goals and to shine the light that lives inside of them. So please welcome Michelle Morgan. For coming out, Michelle, and I know you brought a lot of your loved ones too, so thank you. All right, so Michelle, tell us all about what you do and when you first fell in love with sports.
So I fell in love with sports at an early age. I started playing soccer and then basketball, and then later I played softball in high school. But it was like junior high when I got into soccer, and then I also was playing basketball. And I had an opportunity to just go to the park. That was Durley Park, and there was a great travel team there, and so I would just go, and then there was a camp, and somehow it was amazing. I became part of the team, and in my 7th grade year, actually, that team was known to blow everybody out, like in Oxnard. Like, you played them, you're going to lose by 50 points. Wow. But even when I played against them, there was always something in my mind. There was a game plan that I know we can beat them. And it was amazing to have an opportunity to actually be part of the team. I went to the camp, the coach just said it's nighttime, and I became part of their program. So that's when I fell in love with sports. And through that journey, through playing sports, my goal was to play basketball in college, was to earn a basketball scholarship. And so from there, I had it in my mind. I was determined that that's something that I wanted to do, having 5 sisters and just trying to help out my parents. But I was like, I just want to keep playing basketball. It's just so fun. And so I went to Oxnard High School, went to Moore Park College, and then I earned a basketball scholarship to San Francisco State University. And so through that journey, after that, went to go teach 6th graders on an Indian reservation, moved back to the Bay, worked in event planning, came back down to Oxnard, was working with youth here at the high schools with job readiness. And through that moment of continuing to watch sports, I was thinking about the things that were missing when I was growing up watching sports and playing them, and it's the mindset. We focus so much on like the skill set, how good are you, and maybe the physical, like how do you look, how does your body look, being in shape, but it's really the mindset that keeps you in the game, not just in sports, but in life. And so I was like, that is what I want to work with youth. And through that process of just even going through like my 20s, I learned how important self-love was. And so it was something I said, like, well, if I had understood this concept a lot earlier, like how my decisions might have changed. In terms of loving myself, taking actions towards love, which is most important. And even though my parents, were taught, like, don't do this, don't do that, say sorry, do these good things, but there's not the why behind it. And I think that's the important part that's missing. And that's what self-love really goes into.
You're leading into my next question then. So, Michelle, have you always known that you were worthy of love and destined for greatness? Or did these truths develop in you over time?
I would say yes and no. Like, I've always had like a strong belief in myself just by wanting to go after things, but then just going after like what you're talking about, what Lisa's talking about is like those doubt moments that come in. And so those are the periods where you're like, can I do it? No, I'm not as good as that person. Or I'm not tall enough. There's no way I can do it. And it's just like you have to keep pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding. And just like to go outside of sports, it even goes into like just self-love in terms of like relationships, because everything is a relationship, regardless if it's your family, your friends, if it can be romantic, your coworkers, the person the person that is at the gas station. There's so many relationships that are happening, and so that to me is also learning like that love piece that goes into it, and it's just actually taking that action, even though there's like that fear, that self-doubt that gets in the way.
Mm-hmm. How did you transition from working your full-time job to pursuing your dreams full-time? Because I know that's a question a lot of people have, and a lot of people will think, which will go into my next question, but I'll have you share that first.
So It kind of just happened, I guess. It was something that was deep down inside of me that said, this is time. So here in Oxnard, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, and I had 2 different roles. So one was going to the high schools, working with the youth, and teaching them job ready, and then I moved up to another position where I was the director of after-school programs. So I was basically running all of our after-school sites here in Oxnard and just overseeing staff, and then working with principals and admin in the districts and within the schools as well. And so I use that time to actually know, like, this is something I want to hone into, because wanting to be a business owner, I'm going to have to work with other people. Also, I'm going to have people that I'm going to be an example of and lead, and if they're going to be working for me as well. So I want to really create that. And then just through work, sometimes it's like, this isn't for me anymore, basically. And you just get to that point, but I knew it was coming, but I also started taking those steps to prepare myself. So I've always been, I don't use the word frugal, I just say buyer conscious.
Well, that's going to lead to the next question.
Oh,
okay.
I love it. She's ready. My girl's been studying. So that leads into my next question, then my next 2-part question, Michelle. And I want you all to take this into account. You know what I mean? Because as I was building this conference, I was thinking, what are the different areas and ways that I could be able to support the other women and girls in our community and be able to show them from different people and different walks of life and different careers. So Michelle, what are some mental, practical, and physical activation tips that you would give to other people wanting to pursue their dreams full time? Physical, mental, and practical. And then you can leave with that afterwards. How does someone know when they are ready to take the big jump, like you?
Okay, so I would say it all starts mentally first before you can do any other aspect of anything, regardless of what it is, if it's going out on your own on a business or whatever it might be. So it's the mental part, is just kind of bracing yourself to jump off that bridge or cliff, just hypothetically speaking, and like going all in on yourself, basically. And it's having people to support you, so having a support system around you, because there's times that you're not going to always be motivated by yourself. You're going to need someone to pick you up, remind you what your goals and dreams are as well. So it's having that support system, that circle of support is what I call it, and knowing who those people are so that they can support you. And then, you know, you've already shared it too, it's like thinking about what I'm going to need financially. So like for me, my business, and I've always been doing it while I was working. So like putting little things into my business and creating it while I was
So say
working.
that again, because I think that's important for people to understand. She was always doing her business and working towards her dream, even while she was working. Mm-hmm. Think about that. She was always moving towards her dream and starting her business, even while she was working. You don't have to wait until you are doing something full time in order for you to also be whatever it is that you desire. Really key into that. That's really important and valuable information. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just continuing to implement those baby steps while I was working, and then finally getting to the point that, you know what, I'm ready to go out and take the step on my own. And
That's good.
well, I was going to go back to where I was talking about, I'm not frugal, I'm buyer conscious, so I'm just conscious of what I'm buying.
Boom.
So it's just understanding, like, if I want to build something, that I have to put something away to do those things. So you just have to kind of arrange your priorities. Like, if I want something bad enough, what am I willing to do?
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. And so how does someone know when they're ready to take the big jump like you? Do you feel like they'll start having that yearning desire and that they'll be prepared at the same time? Because, you know, some people will jump, but their work ethic and everything does not match what they're desiring within their heart.
Oh, yeah. Actions always speak louder than words. That's like an idiom of truth, no matter what it is. But I feel like it was inside of me, and sometimes I think things get, like the image becomes bigger. It's almost like a cartoon where it's the person starts out small, then it just keeps getting more and more in your face. So say I'm at work, and now things that I used to enjoy at work is just coming more and more to me, that I'm like, this is not the place I need to be at anymore. Mm-hmm. So you can look at it at work, you can look at it even in a relationship where it's like, this person is not the person I need to be with anymore. You know, and it's like, it happens, but then we try to like push it to the side. You know, and it's like, no, because what happens, fear takes over. So it's like, and the bigger it gets, usually the moments become bigger. Mm-hmm. It comes bigger in your heart because you're like, man, I
That's
really
good,
do
Michelle.
something.
That's really good. What are a couple misconceptions that people have about you, and how do you not allow that to distract you? Because, a lot of times, especially, the women and girls, we spend so much of our time in other people's heads of what they think about us. What are they going to think about me with this? What are they going to think about that? So what are a couple misconceptions that people have about you, and how do you not allow that to distract you?
I don't think I really know what people's misconceptions, like, no one's ever directly said anything to me, but I think sometimes it can come off like, because I do, like, I'm about being positive and that, loving yourself, it can become like, so your life must be perfect, or you don't understand what it's like to go through X, Y, and Z, so you can't understand me. And I think that's a misconception, because for anybody, no matter where they're at, in order to get there, they had to have overcome here. So,
Yes.
It's all about... It's all about speaking truth too. Yeah. It's all about being honest as well. Like, for me, it's like when you tell your story, you have to tell those moments where you were over to come healing, because everybody's experienced it in some way. I always say the stories stay the same, it's just the names and the faces change. So it's like everybody experienced something on some certain level. So it's about sharing that. So we all think we're so different, yet we all are so much the same.
I love that. That's really good. Like, every person is unique, but we're all the same. That's important to understand. We're all the same. You're no different than, God is no different than you. No other people are no different than you. And I think that's valuable, because when I was in a counseling session recently with my pastor, and he's a great mentor of mine, he was encouraging me. He's like, I don't want you to keep believing that lie that you're different. He goes, you are unique, just like every other person, but you're no different, because that's what causes us to isolate ourselves, because people start thinking, no one understands me, no one will get me, I'm on my own in this. And it's like, no, you're unique. Everyone is a creative and unique expression of God, but like you said, we're all the same. So that's powerful, Michelle. Tell us about your new book that I love so much, How Youth Triumph in Sports, Tools That Create a Triumphant Life, and How It Came About. And then we're going to talk about your workbook as well. And I want to share really quick the story of Michelle told me a couple years, maybe 3 years ago, like at least 3 years ago, she told me about her wanting to self-publish her own book, and how she made that dream a reality. And that was like what really tripped me out, because imagine someone talking to you about their dream, and we know people talk about their dreams all the time, and we wish that the manifestation could match how much we talk about it. But literally seeing her talking about that and telling me, she's like, I'm working, I'm learning, and she goes, I think I'm gonna have to do it myself. She goes, but either way, I'm gonna self-publish this book, and then here we are today. So go ahead.
So just through my experience with sports and life, self-love, I created a book for young people, student athletes to read. And I figure, a lot of the times we don't know what life skills are while we're in it, while we're young. So I figured if I use sports as the niche, it'll connect with our youth. And so the book is about life skills, like being accountable, not blaming people for things that go wrong. So in sports, it's easy to get mad at your teammates, the coaches, the referees. And it's knowing, what can I do about something to see a different situation created. The same thing we're going to have to do in life. So sports represents what we're doing in life. Your character, what you do when no one's looking. Like, I'm telling the coach I'm going to do this, but am I really doing it if I say this is my goal? The same things that happen in life. All those things, your education, loving yourself, and having all those things that make you great in sports, but most importantly, what's going to make you great in life, because we're going to spend more time in life than we do in sports. And so that's what the book is about. And I also just want to share my equation that I use, that I came up with for people in terms of understanding self-worth, because sometimes we don't know what that means, and so even when I ask the kids what that means, they don't even understand like how those two words connect. So what I did is so my business is Vida es Oro, so life is gold. And so everything revolves around gold and treasuring yourself. So I use your body weight, and then we find out how much you're worth in the weight of gold. So I tell the kids, if this book, like for me, I worth a little over $2 million, just in my body weight. So I tell them, if this book is worth $2 million, are you going to take care of it? Yeah. Are you going to give it to someone you don't trust? No, that's $2 million. So why don't you treat yourself like that? And it's like, But we value materials, celebrities, things like that. We give more value to other things than we do to ourselves. So if it's like you're willing to take care of this $2 million book, but you won't even do it for yourself, you'll make sure you're not going to give it to the untrustworthy friend that you have, because you know that but you won't do it for yourself. And so it's understanding those concepts and putting it in that way so that they can understand, like, okay, I get what that means. So loving yourself is really a reflection of your actions and your decisions. That's really what it is. You can say what you want, you can post all the selfies and all these things, but it's really your actions and your decisions that reflect how much you love yourself.
That's right.
And have them understanding that.
That's good. And then you have a workbook as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so recently a friend of mine, she has her physical education department in San Francisco, and she wanted to incorporate life skills because she was saying that when the kids go to college, they don't know how to like do note taking and just things that maybe some of us take for granted. Like, what do you mean you don't know how to take notes? So they don't have those skills yet. So she wanted to implement personal development within her school system, within the physical education department. So I told her like the book would be a great thing to implement, and then she's like, well, I need a curriculum. So I told her I'd create a curriculum, but then I went a step further, and then I created the workbook. So basically the workbook is reflection pieces and exercises after every chapter, because it's easy to read something, but when you actually write it down and you have to do the work and you have to actually look at yourself, it just changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually the hard part. We don't want to like look in the mirror. So for me, it's just having those kids use that, because a lot of them, they don't even understand like what's happening in front of them right now. So it's actually being part of their curriculum this school year. Yeah, I know. I'm excited.
Yay!
Give it up for Michelle.
There's junior colleges that are using this book within their sports team as well, because I tell the coaches, like, you need someone, I get it, head coaches are busy, but someone on this staff needs to give them something more, because through my experience, I can play high school, I can have, X amount of girls on my team. When I get to college, the number dwindles. Those girls that were with me there, they're not with me at the next level. And then when I go to college or the university and I got a scholarship, there's only like 2 or 3 of us that still make it onto that next level. So what happens outside of sports and the wins and losses? It's like we got to help them and prepare them for life. And even my partner Maria, she's a teacher, and over the summer, she implemented the book and the workbook in summer school, because summer school is what we think of it as usually the kids who need the grades to get onto the next level. We need to like, come on, you need to do this, and they usually don't want to be there. Mm-hmm. So if they don't want to be there and they're taking an English class, if I make them read another book, are they going to be excited about being there? No, I don't want to be here. This is not what I like to do. So, and it's not motivating for them. So we implemented the book and the workbook because this goes reflecting on themselves. So it's not about English class, it's about what do you like to do, and that's finding their passions within so that they can find that internal motivation to start changing their circumstances.
That's right.
That's good, Michelle.
That's right.
So good. So, Michelle, what is one word of advice or some advice that you would give to parents of student athletes and also to other adults who want to get more involved with helping kids and teens in their community, besides, of course, first buying your book and the workbook?
And I always say, don't just buy it's not buying, it's an investment.
Boom.
So I always say, no, you're not purchasing, you're investing in it. It's different from, buying a coffee or things like that, because this is lifelong.
I love how she changes the words of things. That's so cool.
Yes, girl.
That's right.
So, and then I just don't say just don't hurt or don't just invest in it, also do the work. And so I would say in terms of working with student athletes, something that I'm learning is not to project what you want them to be. Let them be, basically, because everybody is a human being. So that be part in being is what we sometimes forget. And that's like something that as adults we forget it too. We all have our stories where maybe someone had told us who we needed to be, and so we forgot who we are, and now we've kind of like drifted off on that track, and then it's getting back on track. Mm-hmm. But sometimes that can be hard. That's not easy for everybody. And so for me, it's also just seeing, like, having kids, allow kids to be kids, allow people to be people, and not do things because we want them to do things a certain way, because sometimes in the back, as even adults or parents, we're doing it because what other people are going to think of my parenting skills of my child.
That's right.
And so it's understanding that it's okay to let them be, because in the long term, they're going to be free mentally, and that's the most important piece.
That's good. So tell us about your show, Mind Right, Game Tight, and how it began. And if she's getting ready to answer this question, Michelle, she didn't put it in her bio, but because I'm going to brag on her anyways. She was also a castmate on my radio show, Grindhard Radio Network, for my Sade Champagne show, and she had an amazing segment called Mind Right, Game Tight. And then knowing how Michelle just takes things and run with it with the fire in her eyes, she took her segment on my radio show that she hosted and turned it into a whole show. And so I want you to talk about that, and then also where people can listen in to the previous episodes and what you've been working on, because it's a really, really good show.
Yeah, so Mind Right Game Tight, the website is mindrightgametight.com.
And you got a website!
So it just makes it really easy. I like to simplify things because we need to simplify things for like everybody so that just something easy to remember. And so basically Mind Right Game Tight came about is telling the stories or having student athletes, current and former student athletes share their stories of like how they overcome adversity, whether if it's in sports or in life, to see where they're at now, because I feel like the most important thing is to share their story. And so I've been focusing more on our youth, because there's a perception out there that you have to be a professional athlete in order for your story to matter, or you have to be a celebrity or whatever it may be in order for people to actually listen. And it's knowing that their story does matter no matter what age they're at, but also while they're telling the story, it's healing. So it's like they actually get to see it, and then all the videos and the interviews are up on YouTube so that they can see themselves and see the great things that they're doing, because sometimes we don't even realize we're doing great things in our moments because we're comparing ourselves to other people, and it's like we forget that. So I want them to know that they're doing great things and they can share their story, and that, like we said, that there's a platform for other student athletes to go listen to them, because a lot of times it's like, no one knows what I'm going through, nobody understands, my parents don't get it, they're dumb, and it's like, you know what, like here's a resource to go listen to somebody who used to have a lot of playing time, but when they got to the next level, they sat the bench and they didn't understand it, because that really happens. Not everybody's a superstar, not everyone gets all the playing time. There's even just someone who I recently interviewed, and he's talking about like, I don't like to practice, but I think I'm good. Why do I have to practice? And it's like, he's gonna watch himself and listen to this because why do I have to practice? It's real though, and that's what I loved about his interview, is because he didn't say things that he thought people want to hear. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I love it, and this is great, even though it's like it's a drag. So it's like hearing what he's saying, but then he also told me his goals. He wants to get a scholarship. So it's like really saying like, does it match up? And like also understanding that collegiate athletics is a business. So we forget that, or maybe we don't understand it as a kid, because I always tell them, you're just watching the highlights on ESPN, that's all you're doing. You don't know the backstage access, you don't know what's going on back there, and it's a business. So if you're not performing to a certain level and your academics are okay, you're not going to be there, because these schools need good things to talk about in order for people to come and spend their money to go there. So you're not thinking that, you're missing the whole point of college athletics. You think it's just about how good you are. And guess what? There's so many out there that you could be replaced so quick, because guess what? Their image matters, because that money comes in through image.
Yeah, it's true. So that's so good, Michelle. Why is it important, and I really want you to share this encouragement with the women and girls that are here today too, why is it important to put yourself out there and prepare yourself for opportunities?
It's great to put yourself out there. I always say ask questions, even though like it seems like, I'm gonna sound dumb or stupid. It's a stupid question, but the person who knows the answer once didn't know the answer to that question. So it's, we've all been there before. So once again, it goes back to how much we are alike, even though we think we're so different. And so that's how you communicate. And I say, if you don't talk about it, if you don't share your dream, no one's gonna be able to help you, because no one's a mind reader. So if you're just doing something, I don't know how to help you if you're telling me this, but that's not really what you want. So in order to be honest with yourself, is speak your truth, because the right people are going to come to you and help you, give you the resources, or provide you with the resources, and help you on your way to get to where you want to go. But if you never talk about it, no one's ever going to know. And that's just where it's always going to be. So it's better just to share your dreams, find somebody that you can connect with. And even when someone does ask you, what do you want to do? Or the question that you asked when we started this, it's like, that's a great question, because it actually gets people to open up, because a lot of times we're like, I don't want to say, because what is everybody going to think? Like, or maybe that's not what people thought of me as, So it's like, maybe I'm going in a different direction than what everybody perceives of me.
That's good. Tell us about one of your biggest setbacks and how did you bounce back from that time? Because as we are showing here within the conference, I want everyone to see the humanity in every single person. Yes, we may all be not just us up here, but all of us are superheroes, but all of us also have had setbacks. Go ahead.
So for me, I would say my setback would be like abundant mindset. So everything goes back to my mind. So it's like I think of myself in an abundant mindset, like, oh, I want to have that much money, or I want to sell that many books, or I want to be on stage with all these people. But it's like knowing that as long as you keep putting the effort into something, it'll be created. And knowing that if you're doing it with like purpose, it's going to happen. But it's anytime you hear anybody get up on stage, they tell you to never quit. And I know it's so cliche, but it's like, well, no one's ever came up and said they quit and then they got everything. So, I mean, there has to be some truth to it, you know? So I'm a big person. I love words. I love listening to people talk and reading. And so for me, it's like, well, no one's ever said that. So there's no way that I can stop and get there, you know? So, I mean, that would be awesome, right? Just kind of hang out. But, that's just not how it works, and it's all energy. So energy basically picks up steam from just continuing to do it, whether if it's 1 step, 2 steps, or 3 steps, and just always knowing that you're enough. Because sometimes it's like, I'm not doing enough, and it's like, because I want to see the result in front of me yesterday. And sometimes it takes that result it takes a little while. So it's knowing that it's coming, but you just have to keep putting that action in. You can believe it, but it's the belief in your actions that also create it as well, because you just can't do everything just off of thought. It has to be done with actions as well, and the effort that you're putting into those actions. So always, when I talk to the kids, it's like, what kind of effort are you doing when you're practicing? Are you on your phone? Are you trying to get, put on Snapchat and all this stuff? That's not 100% effort. So when you perform, you're not giving 100% because when you're in the game, you're not doing all these videos and worrying about who's texting you and things like that. So you're not prepared in that moment. So it's understanding how you prepared is how you're going to be prepared when that opportunity comes. And so it's understanding those things as well. So it's that abundant mindset for me that I've had to overcome because I want this right now. And sometimes it's a little frustrating, but just know, like, continuous action, 100% effort, and a belief, it will continue to get there.
Right, that's good. I loved what she said about believe, because a lot of times people think that believe means like it's only a thought, but really think about it. Believe is a powerful word. When you really believe in something, your actions and what you're moving towards will reflect your belief. If a person doesn't really believe it, then it's just a thought. But if they really, really believe it, then they will move forward in it. You know, a lot of times people think the word, they're just like, oh, I believe. But it's like, no, do you believe or do you just think and have a thought? So when you believe, like we say, it will reflect how people's actions are and how they move forward. So Michelle, what are your top 3 favorite tips for developing entrepreneurial skills?
Let's see. Well, I would say believing in yourself first and foremost, because no one's going to do it for you no matter what you think that's going to happen, because even if it's created for you for someone else, you still have to be the one that continues to do the work. Even if a parent puts their child in a club travel team, the child still has to practice and perform. So I can pay for you to be part of this, but I'm still not going to be able to do the work. And I mean, as parents, I've heard it from my parents, and I'm sure everybody has. It's like, I can't go to school and do it for you. I can't take the test for you. So at the end of the day, it doesn't, you still have to, we are accountable for our own actions at the end of the day.
So number 1, believe in yourself.
Yes.
Number 2.
Yeah. And then another thing is, for me, in terms of entrepreneurship, is really having a support system. So it's having the support system of people who know what your goals and your dreams are. Because there's going to be moments where we don't hold ourselves accountable with action, but we need someone who's honest, who's going to remind us as to why we need to be holding ourselves accountable with action. Because it can get lost, or we can drift off, or we can maybe even get distracted by something else, and then we lose our way. But it's having someone who knows what your dreams are, they can remind you. And so it's having that circle of support, I feel like, is so important, because if you're by yourself and something happens, it doesn't go your way, the result that you didn't want, it's easy to get down on yourself.
Team or support group. You notice how I'm repeating myself, and as I share with you all, I'm doing this for myself just as much as for you. It's processing through my brain. Right. So number 3.
And number 3 is have fun. I mean,
boom.
I mean, that it's hard because it's like I feel like for me, I put so much pressure on myself. Like, I gotta do great, I gotta get it right, it's gotta be perfect. But it's like, if you're not having fun, then, I mean, what's the point of the whole process? And I feel like we're all here, we have our own gift and what we're here to do. But I also think life is meant to be fun. Like, I'm like you, I'm not really big on the news and things like that because that can really get you down. So for me, it's like, if we're not having fun doing it and really expressing that love for ourselves and shining that love for ourselves onto others, then it's not going to be fun. But when you do it, it's fun. You know, no matter what it is that you're doing, it's going to be fun if you're doing what you love and you believe in yourself. You're going to see where the joy comes in. And you're not going to think about the money or any of that stuff because you're like, I had a really great day. I had a lot of fun doing that.
So, number 1, believe in yourself. Number 2, surround yourself with supportive people or have a support team. Number 3, have fun. Awesome. So, as we wrap up Michelle's interview, do we have a couple of questions that people want to ask? Yes.
I know that with coaching, a lot of times kids they are trying to get their parents' support. I mean, you live their parents' dreams kind of thing, where the parents put so much pressure on the kids to do good that the kids are just doing it for the parents. What do you see in your child who does that, and what do you see in the parents?
For me, I'm very like, when I work, because I do work with like clients one-on-one and teams, for me it's like opening that gate of honesty. And I think that's the part that's missing, is because we don't want to tell our parents because we already think like, oh, I'm going to hurt their feelings, or they're going to be so upset, or maybe I'm going to get in trouble because they know I don't want to do this anymore. But I think it's also talking to the parent and saying your child is going to be all open and honest with you. And like, are you ready for that? Because I don't know, sometimes I don't even know if the parent's ready for the truth. You know, because there's that it goes both ways at the same time. So for me, it's like talking to the child, and when I do, I'm like, do you want to have this conversation with your parents or your mom or your dad about how you're feeling? Because I can set this up for you. You're going to do the talking. I'm not going to talk for you because this is your feelings. But I'm going to create the space. And then also letting the parent know it's not coming like, well, your kid is about to tell you something very important. It's like not even prepping them, because when you prep, we're already prepping our answers. And usually we remain in ego. You know, like, well, my child's not going to tell me what to do. And sometimes how they feel is we don't want to hear that because it might have to make us reflect as well. So it's actually just making it organic so that the child can express it. Because if there's no truth and honesty, once again, it's another relationship, then what's really going to come and cultivate from that, especially from a young mind.
That's good.
That's right.
Do we have another question? Yes.
How much is your book and workbook?
The book is 15. The workbook is 10. So together it's 25.
All right. Any other questions? Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, so what I did with arts, and you can make it whatever you want. It can be cooking, it can be skateboards, it can be computers. It doesn't matter what it is, because all the skills still play the same role. You're still going to have teammates, you're going to have coaches, you're going to have mentors, you're going to have to hold yourself accountable, you're going to have character, you're going to have your education piece, because even if you want to be a cook, you still got to continue your education and learning. You want to go into computers, you still got to continue learning. The learning never stops. So the book just says change the word. If you don't like this word, then put it something that you do want, because the rules still apply.
Awesome. Any other questions? Yes.
It's more of an encouragement.
Oh, of course. Share it.
So very proud of you, Michelle. And as you were saying about abundant thinking and also abundant mindset and going forward in your journey, I want to leave you with this scripture. So that anytime, the times that come where things may not go your way, or you may think that, why exactly am I doing this? Or people might question, just keep going forward. And the scripture is from Isaiah 43:2. It says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. So just keep that in mind and keep going.
Awesome. Yeah. So I want to have you all give it up for the very beautiful, very amazing, wonderful Michelle Morgan.
Woo!
And now we have a quick power.
I feel desire in my soul, crying out to live. Somewhere to turn, somewhere to give. I believe one day everlasting drive could be making your next days bright. Hold on to dreams, hold on to love, hold on, believe and never give up. Love it, overcome it, overcome. There's a mountain for us to climb up into